Hey everyone, this is Hale from Destination Thrills, and welcome to the Pennsylvania Coaster Tournament, the 2022 edition, and I am excited. We have 24 amazing coasters from the state about to go head-to-head in battles, and there will only be one coaster that will be crowned champion here today, and I'm very excited for that. Now, I took a trip to Pennsylvania last year over the summer. It was my first trip to many of those theme parks: Hersheypark, Kennywood, Waldameer, Dorney Park, all those amazing places, even Knoebels. And there is so many good coasters, and they have a wide variety. They have amazing wooden coasters. They have amazing hyper coasters. They have coasters that focus on inversions and just some classic rides. And I just think it's a great state that really captures everything a coaster enthusiast wants. And so that is why we're going to pick out the best coaster in the state. And it's going to be a tough one. I see several coasters that could be vying for a championship. And you're looking at the bracket right now. You see the coasters on here. We're going to go over the bracket in just a moment, but first let's get into the rules of this duel. If you've seen these tournaments before, it's basically the same format. We'll have 24 coasters currently operating in the state of Pennsylvania. They will be in a single elimination bracket. Head-to-head matches were posted on my Instagram story, and the coaster with the most votes would be our winner, and the winner would move on to the next round until there were no coasters left. All right, so now that you've got the format, let's get into the bracket. As you can see, the 24 coasters here. There are some amazing and well-known names on this list. We have Phantom's Revenge, the #1 seed in the top left. In the bottom right, we have the #2 seed Skyrush. In the top right, we have the #3 seed Phoenix, and the 4 seed in the bottom left, Candymonium. And then as you can see, there's many other coasters that fill in the rest. Steel Curtain's in there, Storm Runner, Steel Force, Ravine Flyer 2, Fahrenheit. So many names, so many coasters to get to, and I'm excited to really delve into this bracket. I don't really have a favorite here. I think there are 2 coasters that I believe are going to vie for the championship, and that's our top 2 seeds. I think those are the ones that are really well known. They've done well in past tournaments that I've held. There are some sleepers though. Keep an eye on Storm Runner. Storm Runner actually finished 4th in my Intamin coaster tournament, which was a huge surprise to me. Finished higher than our #2 seed Skyrush. So just something to keep in mind there. Also, with Steel Curtain being a newer coaster, how's that gonna fare? And Candymonium being a coaster that opened in 2020. How will that fare in the tournament? So many questions, and I think it's time to get some answers right now. All right, so let's get to our first matchup, and that was Hydra's Revenge versus Comet. These coasters are not comparable at all. One is a B&M floorless coaster. The other is a old wooden coaster, a classic wooden coaster. This one is just gonna really depend on your flavor. Do you like the more modern steel inversion focused coaster, or do you like the rickety, nostalgic airtime ride in Comet? All right, and with 58% of the vote, it is Hydra the Revenge moving on to the next round. Hydra the Revenge picking up the first win for Dorney Park. All right, next up we have Impulse versus Fahrenheit. Now these coasters I do feel like are pretty similar, even though they have different manufacturers. Fahrenheit made by Intamin and Impulse made by Zyre. But these coasters have a similar style. They both have vertical chain lifts, both have very steep first drops, and they also have a variety of inversions. And so these coasters pretty much behave the same, so this should be an interesting matchup. And it looks like our voters have picked Fahrenheit with a total vote of 89%. So a big victory here for Fahrenheit, and that coaster will move to the next round. Our next first round matchup is Wildcat versus Twister. Wildcat from Hersheypark, a wooden GCI. And then you have Twister, which was built in-house by Knoebels. Twister was a phenomenal ride when I got it. It had surprised me. I didn't think I was gonna like it as much. But the wooden coaster that surprised me the most out of that trip was Wildcat. Everybody talks so poorly of this coaster that I came in with low expectations, and this ride actually blew me away. But knowing that a lot of people aren't fans of Wildcat, I have a feeling Twister has the edge here. All right. And the winner is Twister with 73% of the vote. So by a big margin, Twister will be moving to the next round. All right, our next matchup is Skyrocket versus Possessed. Both coasters focus on launches. I wouldn't say they're similar. You know, Possessed is that intimate impulse coaster. It just kind of goes back and forth with some really good launches. And then we have Skyrocket, which is that Premier Rides launch coaster. Skyrocket is a really fun ride. It's one of those sleeper hits in Pennsylvania, and it's a really good coaster to check out if you're in Kennywood. Possessed is pretty fun too, but there's a lot of them. across the country, and so it doesn't really stand out when it comes to rides. And so the winner of this matchup is Skyrocket with 76% of the vote, moving on to face off against Candymonium in the next round. All right, next up we have two spinning coasters. Both are indoor spinning coasters, and that's Laugh Track at Hersheypark versus Exterminator at Kennywood. Two fun rides, very unique, and they both have a really good spot in the lineup. Like, they fill a need for a family-style spinning coaster. And I will say Exterminator, to me, is the better out of the two. It's just more wild, more intense. But Laugh Track has a smoother experience, and it has more theming to it, especially when you're on the ride. I think this is going to be a close matchup for the first round. All right, and the winner is Laugh Track with 60% of the vote, moving on. All right, next first round matchup, we have the two racing wooden coasters. We have Lightning Racer at Hersheypark and Racer at Kennywood. Lightning Racer wasn't as good as I thought it was gonna be when I wrote it, but it's still a fun ride, and it has that more modern feel being a GCI. And I think a lot of voters are gonna go with Lightning Racer, but I will say Racer as well at Kennywood, very nostalgic, has some really good airtime moments as well, so I wouldn't sleep on that coaster, but I have a feeling Lightning Racer probably has the edge here. All right, and our winner is Lightning Racer with 72% of the vote. All right, next up we have the battle of the B&M inverts. We have Great Bear at Hersheypark versus Talon at Dorney Park. Personally, I think Talon's the better invert, but they're very similar. Most inverts have a similar feel to them, so it's really gonna be which one the viewers have probably ridden the most and which ones the viewers have heard about the most. And so I think Talon probably has the advantage here. All right, and the winner is Great Bear at Hersheypark with 61% of the vote. A little bit of a surprise for me there, but Great Bear fans showed up. All right, finally in our first round, we have Jackrabbit versus Leap the Dips. This is like the battle of the classic coasters here. Jackrabbit is an amazing ride. Now, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to ride Leap the Dips at Lake Mount. I just unfortunately didn't get to make it to that park, but I did get to get on Jackrabbit, and I thought it was a phenomenal ride. So I really don't know. This is kind of a toss-up for me on who's gonna win this one. All right, and the winner is Jackrabbit with 77% of the vote, so a convincing win there to move it on to the second round. All right, let's get to our second round right away, and we have Phantom's Revenge versus Hydra the Revenge. It's the battle of the revenge coasters here. I think Phantom's has a clear advantage. It's just a better coaster overall. Hyper coaster, lots of airtime. Hydra's is fun, but the inversion focused really doesn't give you the intensity that Phantom's Revenge is gonna have. So I think it has the edge here, and it does. 91% of the vote. That's why it's our 2 seed, folks. Phantom's Revenge moving on. All right, next up we have Fahrenheit versus Steel Force. It's kind of a toss-up, but I'm gonna give the edge here to Steel Force. Personally, I did like Fahrenheit though better than Steel Force, but I felt like these two were gonna be close. I actually gave Fahrenheit the 9 seed technically in this tournament, so this is probably gonna be our closest matchup. And the winner is Fahrenheit, actually, with 77% of the vote. I did not expect Fahrenheit to win by such a big margin. I actually thought Steel Force was going to come out with a victory here. So in my mind, a slight upset with Fahrenheit taking 77% of the vote. We're gonna have to keep an eye on that coaster as it moves on to face Phantom's Revenge, another Morgan Hyper coming up. Let's move on to the battle of the wooden coasters. We have Ravine Flyer 2 at Waldameer versus Twister. Ravine Flyer 2, I just raved so much on that coaster. If you haven't seen my top 10 coasters in Pennsylvania video, I'm gonna link that in the card above, but I just absolutely loved Ravine Flyer 2. Love Twister as well, but Ravine Flyer 2 is just the next level over Twister when it comes to intensity, speed, and everything else. I think Ravine Flyer 2 is gonna have the advantage, and it does. It wins with 80% of the vote, moving on to the next round. To face off against Ravine Flyer 2 will either be Skyrocket or Candymonium. Candymonium, the brand new hyper coaster, very smooth ride, focused on airtime. I just think it's got the advantage. New coasters just always seem to do well in these tournaments. So let's see who wins. And yep, Candymonium moving on with 86% of the vote. All right, up next we have Phoenix versus Laugh Track Phoenix. Another good wooden coaster in the state of Pennsylvania. Airtime galore. I don't think Laugh Track honestly stands a chance here. If Laugh Track wins, I will be shocked. All right, and the winner is, yep, you guessed it, Phoenix, 91% of the vote, a big margin victory for Phoenix. All right, next up, we have Storm Runner versus Lightning Racer. I gave Storm Runner a seed in this tournament because of how well it did in my Intamin coaster tournament, finishing 4th place. I thought it deserves a seed in this battle. Let's see if it proves me right and continues to move on in this tournament. So its first contender is gonna be the Lightning Racer. Personally, I think Storm Runner is a clearly better coaster, but if you like those racing wooden coasters, you may favor Lightning Racer in this battle. All right, let's see who wins, and it's Storm Runner, 89% of the vote, moving on to the final 8. All right, next up, we have Steel Curtain versus Great Bear. And so Steel Curtain making it into this tournament. This is the first tournament that I featured Steel Curtain in, so it's gonna be very interesting to see how this coaster performs. It's really a toss-up. I've heard mixed reviews about the ride. I know people who love Steel Curtain, and I know some people who are not so favorable. So this is the first test here going up against a solid B&M inverted coaster. Let's see if Steel Curtain can hold its own here. And Steel Curtain will move on, not super convincing, but a 64% margin here, and it will move on to the final 8. All right, and finally, we have Skyrush versus Jackrabbit. Again, it's another one of those battles. I just don't think Jackrabbit stands a chance. It's a good coaster, but it isn't Skyrush. Skyrush was a phenomenal experience. You'll see it in my top 20 coasters video that I make later on, how high it's gonna rank for me, but it is a phenomenal ride. And I'm very interested to see how it's gonna perform in this tournament. I think it's moving on here, and it's 85% of the vote. Wow, what a big margin of victory here. And Skyrush is in our final 8. All right, we're here at the final 8, and our first matchup is gonna be Phantom's Revenge versus Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit had a pretty convincing win over Steel Force, and I don't want to say it has a chance or it has an advantage here against Phantom's Revenge, but I have to think there is a slight opportunity here for Fahrenheit to maybe squeeze out a victory, but Phantom's Revenge is just one of those highly regarded rides. It's very well known in the coaster enthusiast communities. So I really believe Phantom's Revenge has the edge. I know Phantom's Revenge personally is a way better coaster for me than Fahrenheit, but we'll see what the voters go with. And the winner is Phantom's Revenge with 83% of the vote. So if that gives you any confidence that Phantom's Revenge is going to do well in this tournament, that result proves it right there. Phantom's Revenge moving on to our semifinals. Joining Phantom's Revenge is either gonna be Ravine Flyer 2 or Candymonium. This one is a true toss-up for me. I really think Ravine Flyer 2 is the better of the rides, but this one really splits you up by styles. Do you like aggressive, more on the rougher style wooden coasters, something that's gonna really fling you around in your seat and just be super intense? Or are you gonna go for something like Candymonium, which brings the height fear factor, brings the speed, but it gives you a more gentle, smooth, flying airtime experience, something that a lot of people are gonna enjoy and be able to handle. And so I really don't know who is gonna win this one. It just really depends on your style. But let's see who's moving on to the semifinals, and it is, with 60%, it's Candymonium moving on. And I think that's a big pickup for Candymonium here. It really tells me that it has a chance to do very well in this tournament. Beating Ravine Flyer 2, I think, is a big victory. Okay, next final 8 matchup, we have Phoenix versus Storm Runner here. I just gotta go with Phoenix. I mean, it's got so much airtime. Yes, Storm Runner is super aggressive, but Phoenix just has all the airtime and it has a more longer experience than Storm Runner. Again, Storm Runner just did so well in the Intamin tournament. It's hard for me to go against it, but I think Phoenix has the advantage here. Let's see who's moving on. And it is Storm Runner with 59% of the vote. You Storm Runner fans are out there today, man. What a victory here. So Storm Runner, believe it or not, and I really didn't expect this, but Storm Runner is gonna be in our semifinals for the Pennsylvania Coaster Tournaments. All right, next up we have Steel Curtain versus Skyrush. I think this one will kind of show me, do we have a lot of Skyrush haters in this voting pool? Because if Skyrush really doesn't come out with a major victory here, because I just think it's clearly a more aggressive ride. I mean, it gives you the airtime that we all want as coaster enthusiasts, you know, and I just think Steel Curtain's a phenomenal ride. It just doesn't compete with that. So we'll see. Let's see how many Skyrush haters we have out there. And the winner is Skyrush with 74% of the vote. So a pretty convincing win here. And it's going to move on to our semifinals. And so that means we have 3 Hersheypark coasters in the semifinals here. Hersheypark being well represented in this tournament. And then of course we have Phantom's Revenge, the #1 seed from Kennywood, also in the semifinal. Now, if you've watched these tournaments before, you know I like to do a consolation bracket. No different here. We're gonna take the coasters that all lost in the final 8 and we're gonna put them together in a separate bracket to determine 5th and 7th place. Our first consolation bracket matchup is Fahrenheit versus Ravine Flyer 2. Fahrenheit has gotten a lot of love this tournament, so I don't know if I can vote against it. Ravine Flyer 2 also did not have a big loss. It only lost by 20 percentage points to Candymonium, so it wasn't like it was a clear victory there either. So, you know, I'm gonna go with Ravine Flyer 2 winning this matchup, but it could be pretty close. All right, and the winner is Fahrenheit, 55% of the vote. Moving on to our 5th place battle. Ravine Flyer 2 will battle it out for 7th place. All right, next up we have Phoenix versus Steel Curtain. Phoenix, surprised it didn't make our semifinal actually. I really thought that coaster was gonna be in the top 4, if not even the top 3, but it is in our consolation bracket. I think it's gonna have the advantage against these coasters down here though, as it's just such a superior ride. It's won so many golden ticket awards as well for being the best winning coaster. So let's see how it will fare up against Steel Curtain, and the winner is Phoenix, 60% of the vote, beating out Steel Curtain. So again, Phoenix will be battling out for 5th place against Fahrenheit, and Steel Curtain will go against Ravine Flyer 2 for 7th place. Okay, we're in the semifinals now. We have Phantom's Revenge versus Candymonium, 2 hypercoasters. Again, it's what you like. Do you like smooth, glidey airtime, or do you like, you know, that aggressive ejector, quick turns, kind of that a little bit rougher experience? I wouldn't say Phantom's Revenge is a rough ride, but it does kind of bang you around a little bit in those seats, whereas Candymonium is just smooth from beginning to end, and it really has the speed and the height to go with it. Personally, I prefer Phantoms. Let's see what you all prefer. Moving on to our championship is Phantom's Revenge with 75% of the vote, so a major victory, not even like close here. Phantom's Revenge will be in our championship matchup. No surprise there, as it was the #1 seed in the tournament. Candymonium will be battling it out for 3rd place. All right, and the coasters that will be going up against Phantom's Revenge in the final, we have 2 Hersheypark coasters, 2 Intamin Hersheypark coasters, and that's Stormrunner versus Skyrush. Now, this isn't the first time these 2 coasters have battled. Skyrush actually battled Stormrunner in the first round of our North America coaster tournament back in 2020. Skyrush came out victorious with about 60, I think it was like 67, 68%. You'll have to go and watch the video to really check that out. But obviously, knowing that data, I think Skyrush has an advantage here, but we'll see if maybe more Stormrunner voters came out for this tournament. So, our winner, and moving on to the final, is Skyrush, 68% of the vote, so not really a change from 2 years ago. Skyrush moving on to face Phantom's Revenge, and that's the final I really predicted from the beginning here. Those 2 coasters are very superior, and it's gonna be an interesting championship matchup to say the least here. I expect a very close battle. Stormrunner will also be going up against fellow Hersheypark coaster, Candymonium, for 3rd place, and I think that battle is gonna be a really close one as well, as they will be fighting for which is the 2nd best coaster in the park. All right, we're down to the final results here of the Pennsylvania Coaster Tournament, and as you can tell, this has just been a really good tournament so far, and I think all these matchups are going to be close here. So for 7th place, we have Ravine Flyer 2 versus Steel Curtain. Again, I didn't know how Steel Curtain was going to fare in this tournament because it's a newer ride and I haven't done a tournament with it yet. But so far, I think it's held its own. It's in the top 8 here, battling for 7th place, and it's going up against Ravine Flyer 2. Now, Ravine Flyer 2 did not have very much luck against Candymonium. Now, Candymonium and Steel Curtain are not similar rides, but I think with Candymonium being a new coaster and seeing it kind of really beat out Ravine Flyer 2 by a pretty decent margin, I think this is a sign that Steel Curtain has the advantage here. So let's see who wins. And the 7th place coaster in the Pennsylvania Coaster Tournament is, with just 51% of the vote, it is Steel Curtain. A close matchup here. And if you want to know how close it was, the winner was separated by 8 votes. So if you feel like your vote doesn't matter, it certainly does, as that battle could have gone either way. What a close matchup there for 7th place. We're on to 5th place here, and we have Fahrenheit versus Phoenix. Fahrenheit has really proved me wrong in so many matchups. It's won matchups that I did not think it's gonna win. And so going up against Phoenix here, even though I think it's clearly a top 4 coaster in Pennsylvania, it may have enough fans to push it over the edge and more people that think Fahrenheit actually is a better coaster. So I'm gonna give the edge to Fahrenheit here, even though personally I would go with Phoenix. So let's see who wins. And it's gonna be, for 5th place, Phoenix with 54% of the vote. So another really close battle here for 5th place. But yes, Phoenix will take it on. And I think that's a pretty respectable finish for Phoenix. And I think a very impressive performance as well for Fahrenheit. Let's move on to our third place matchup. We have Stormrunner versus Candymonium. Basically the battle for what is the second best coaster at Hersheypark. Me personally, I think Stormrunner is in that conversation. You know, Stormrunner just has the intensity that Candymonium doesn't have. What Candymonium does bring, like I said, is that smooth experience, but it also brings a little bit of a longer layout, and I think some people will gravitate towards that as being superior. So I don't know, we'll see. This is a toss-up for me. I don't know. Personally, for me, it's Stormrunner, but let's see what you all choose. And the coaster that gets third place in the Pennsylvania Coaster Tournament is Stormrunner, 56% of the vote. So again, not a huge margin of victory here, but Stormrunner edges out Candymonium and gets third place here. And, you know, maybe a couple years ago I would have said I'm surprised, but after seeing how it did in the Intamin Coaster Tournament, Stormrunner is just a good coaster and a lot of people like it. Okay, the matchup I have been waiting for. When I put this tournament together, I knew it was gonna be these two. I just knew it. These two are highlight elite coasters in the state of Pennsylvania. And for me, myself, they were my top two as well. They're both so incredibly fun. You can ride them a million times and not get bored. I absolutely love them. And they both bring different things to the table. Phantom's Revenge gives you that terrain vibe. It gives you the ejector airtime, but it also gives you those sudden turns and those weird head chopper moments, and it just kind of gives you like a wooden coaster experience, but on smooth steel track, and that's what I really like about Phantom's Revenge. Skyrush is absolutely insane. The strongest ejector airtime I've ever experienced, and it's not just on one hill, but like on every hill on that ride is ridiculous. The restraints are weird. They do give you a lot of pain, and I think that's where this coaster is gonna suffer, is the pain that it gives you. It's pretty intense, and a lot of people don't like this coaster because of it. For me though, I thought it was so wild and so insane that it was worth the pain that it was causing me, but we'll see. There's a lot of Skyrush haters on there. Personally, I gave Phantom's Revenge the #1 seed for a reason. I think it's gonna be the winner of this tournament, so I'm not gonna shy away from that here, but I think it's gonna be a close matchup. I'm gonna give the edge though to Phantom's Revenge, but I think you all probably want me to get on with it and reveal the winner of the Pennsylvania Coaster Tournament, and that's gonna be, with 51% of the vote, it is Skyrush at Hersheypark winning the Pennsylvania Coaster Tournament, and it could not be any closer, folks. Again, this battle as well was separated by 8 votes. 8 votes determined our champion here today, and wow, what a close battle. This would be an interesting rematch to do in the future, and I'm sure I'm going to do a Pennsylvania Coaster Tournament in the future as well once they add another coaster in the region. But what a fun tournament. Thank you all so much for participating in this. I know I haven't done one of these in a while. I know our voter turnout was a lot lower than it was when I was doing these a year ago, just because I haven't been posting much on Instagram and I haven't been doing a lot of videos lately, and so I really would like to get these coaster tournaments back to where they were and get close to 1,000 voters, which we had going at the height of it. So tell your friends about these tournaments, and don't forget to follow us on Instagram. Again, that's where I'm gonna be posting all the tournaments. I have another coaster tournament in the works. I don't have a date for when we're gonna do it yet, but yes, finally, I'm going to do the North America Coaster Tournament, the 2021 edition. I know we're in 2022, but we're gonna take all the coasters that opened in 2021 and compete them in a 64 coaster battle. It is gonna be absolutely insane. Will Steel Vengeance retain its title that it won back in 2020? We'll have to wait and see. But yes, go to Instagram and follow us there so you don't miss the voting on that tournament. Well, again, congratulations to Skyrush, and thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the tournament and what you thought about Skyrush taking down the victory here today in a narrow victory over Phantom's Revenge. Now, if you like these tournaments, like I've said, I've done plenty more on this channel. If you want to check them out, I'm going to leave the coaster tournament playlist in the description below, as well as my last tournament, which I believe was the Intamin Coaster Tournament. I'm going to leave that in the card above for you to watch. And don't forget to subscribe to Destination Thrills, as we're the destination for all the latest theme park news, tournaments, and content. I'm Cullah Hale. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you on the next tournament. Have a good one.